everyone. Hope you all are safe and healthy. As COVID-19 becomes a reality, we will all have to live with it for a while. Countries as well as organizations are slowly finding their ways to bring normalcy back into their lives. So, as we open up our workplaces in phase wise with the easing out of the lockdown, what would this entail for the workforce? Preparing for the new normal at the workplace post COVID 19 is going to determine a lot about the future of organizations as well as the workforce. The HR community at large is facing an unprecedented situation triggered by the COVID 19 pandemic. And we are all going to talk more about this today. Introducing to you all, friends, is Prompt Talks, a series where we bring to our audience the views and suggestions and opinions of experts from the HR industry on various topics in the form of a Q&A session. Now, before I proceed further, let me introduce you to Prompt Personal, which is hosting these Prompt Talks for you today. Who is Prompt Personal? Well, Prompt Personal is a total HR solutions. It's a pan-India company with 23 years of experience, and we provide temporary staffing, permanent staffing, labor law advisory and compliance management services, talent management, and training services too. Currently, we are catering to telecom, retail, IT, ITES, e-commerce, financial services, logistics, and healthcare sectors. So let me introduce you today to our Prompt Talks first speaker in our series. And who is he? Well, he is Mr. Adir Mane, the CHRO of Lifestyle Raymond Limited. He is an HR generalist with 25 years of solid experience in the HR industry. He has worked in large MNCs and also Indian conglomerates. Some of the large MNCs and companies that he has worked include the Cisco Systems, Warner Lambert, which is Pfizer now, BASF. Also worked in large Indian companies like M&M, Piramal Healthcare at senior levels in the HR departments. Welcome to this video series, Mr. Mane.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this first ever Prompt Talks that Prompt Personal is actually hosting. And it's a privilege and honor for me to actually share my views and my perspectives on a very telling and an important topic that we probably would need to be all geared to handle as we start opening up our economy and our organizations, so to speak. So appreciate your invite for me to actually help me understand and kind of associate with the Prompt Talks. And I think this will actually help us develop more opportunities and strategies to look at how we want to develop this further.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we move on to our first question for you today. What are the various challenges you foresee for the future HR leaders?
I think I may not have all the answers, but I think from a perspective standpoint, we will try and analyze as to what are the key challenges that future HR and leaders in HR will face. First and foremost is the fact that we will actually, as organizations and as HR leaders, try and build agility and adaptability as a core tenet of your culture. I think that's going to be key. The way you actually start migrating yourself to a newer business model or newer things that you may want to talk and plan. That is actually one of the critical challenge, that how do you actually instill a mindset of adaptability and agility is going to be key and important. The second aspect, which I think is very, very fundamental and important for us to understand, is that how do you actually build performance management programs and processes for a distributed workforce. I mean, still till today, we are still operating on a work from an environment. So therefore, what is my performance measure going to be? What is my system of performance going to be? What is that I start measuring? What is that I develop as a system to address this important and critical issue? How do I set goals? How do I monitor performance on an ongoing basis? So this is another important challenge according to me. The other part is also the fact that how do I propel the organization post-COVID as one team? How do I build structures to bring back the work from home people back to the organizations, or some may be still working outside as work from home, etc., etc. So how do I propel the organization as one team? The other important part the HR leaders will play is to how do I shepherd and kind of garner the and develop the organization culture in this torrid times that we have gone through, and therefore culture becomes an important prime driver for organizations for today and for the future. So therefore, how do I actually in the past to actually guide for me in the future as well? Organizations today have also gone through a lot of restructuring wherever needed, and therefore, how do I build the biggest challenge for HR professional? How do I build empathy with even handling those downsizing initiatives that you or someone has taken? And therefore, how do I build empathy as a core tenet of my culture in the organization? This was there yesterday as well, but how do I actually reinforce that going forward? So these are typically critical challenges I personally feel that the HR professionals are going to face and kind of will have to surmount as they move on. The other one, which is the biggest one, is the changing business dynamics. Organization models will get changed here, and therefore, how do I actually gear my organization to actually meet the structural changes that will happen, as well as the issues that come with the structural changes? So that's an important area that HR professionals and HR leaders will have to focus on. So this is something I feel, in a nutshell, comes some of the critical challenges that the HR fraternity will be faced with, and this is how we'll have to develop opportunities and strategies, therefore, to build programs around to tackle this unknown that we are all facing.
True, very true, very true. I completely understand the kind of new normals that we are all going to now encounter. So, my next question, in continuance of the earlier one, would be then what is the people's processes, the changes that you see in the processes, in the culture, in this uncertain journey to the new normal, Mr. Adir?
A good question. I don't think we will have all the answers, but I think from a development of a perspective, let's look at some of the key tenets that will actually need to be changed. Probably more and more, I think we will see insertion of technology in all processes of HR. I mean, first of all, take the infrastructure development. Like we never had tools like Zoom and Teams from Microsoft or any other player like Cisco, the WebEx, etc. So the core tenet will be to develop the infrastructure to handle the work from home issues. Also, from a process perspective, we will need to relook at the way we are operating the entire value chain of talent, right from recruiting to separation. And if it is to be contactless, every process in HR, to begin with the process of recruiting, how can you actually make this contactless? There will be virtual interviews, virtual assessments that would happen as part of the entire offering from an organization standpoint. Therefore, more or less, it will be a contactless process of recruiting people that was there, but it will get more pronounced and more reinforced, so to speak. The other important part is, which I alluded in the earlier question also, is the performance processes. Performance processes will actually get more outcome based rather than input based, and therefore, what are my measures? Do I need to change my measures that I have for my performance processes? Do I actually need to look at what are my systems and processes to monitor performance in a virtual world? And this virtual world is going to be remaining for some more time, as I guess. Also, how do I develop frequent contacts with this virtual employees? So therefore, what are my mechanisms to look at how do I actually keep connected with this virtual environment? How do I keep connected with what's happening on a day-to-day, monthly, or a quarterly basis with my folks who are operating in a distributed environment? Also, the important part, which I feel is going to be key from a process perspective, is how do I reinforce the tenets of the critical tenets of my culture? So that's a big push that the HR leaders, and not just the HR, beyond HR, the business leaders will have to actually give to sustain, grow, and develop my culture in these trying times. The other piece is basically as organizations will change from a model perspective, some of them will, like a classic example was Swiggy, for example. They were a food delivery company, but they have now gone into delivering essentials. So these model changes will also call for different changes to HR process and systems. The other important part, which I feel is the entire planning processes of the organization will get truncated. There will be no longer 5-year planning processes, 3 to 5 year planning process we had in the yesteryears. Probably they'll be truncated to probably a year and even shorter. So how do I develop monitoring systems to look at quarterly performance? How do I develop frequent check-ins? What is that I need to develop as a process and system to monitor this on an ongoing basis? So a couple of things which I feel which are going to be important from an HR perspective is that build that camaraderie in the system, build that team spirit again, because virtually working is not something which is part of the DNA for most of the leaders. So build systems of learning and development where people actually and the leaders actually get trained to handle some of the nuances or some of the critical elements of how do I actually handle a virtual team, etc. So many organizations are not geared for that. So they will have to gear this on an ongoing basis. These are some of the issues and suggestions I have for the workforce or the people process of the future that we probably need to relook at. The other important part is, which I feel organizations will have to relay an emphasis on, is the fact that the war for talent will be very, very pronounced as the economy starts opening up, as the economy starts building up. Therefore, the experience that all of us as organizations have given to our employees when this lockdown happened for retention strategies for the future are going to be key and important. So developing retention strategies and therefore talent development strategies are going to be key for the future of HR and building the people processes very, very fundamentally strongly and solidly, so to speak.
Okay. That was really nice. That was a lot of information that you shared with us. Like you initially spoke about organizations, the various challenges. You talked about the various processes that would be undergoing a lot of changes. Now, my third question to you would be more so about the HR leaders. Now, how they would reshape, reinvent the entire wheel, prepare for the future ready employees. So what is going to be the new world of work for the HR leaders? How are they going to prepare the entire world of work, like they say? So it's up to
Very
you.
interesting question, and indeed, I was prepared to think about this very differently. I think we have all heard about the VUCA, which is in the normal time we spoke about VUCA as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous word. But I want to actually flip this VUCA and make it a very positive VUCA for us. And what HR needs to shape and reshape our own understanding and the strategies is really the V in VUCA, in the new VUCA, would stand for vision and clarity. So typically, build organizations and help people to understand what are the challenges we are facing, build on the values that are already there within the organization, clarify what is really important. Therefore, if it need be, probably revisit the vision of the organization, try and develop that so that people are very clear as to where we are going as an organization. So that's the V first, as I say, the re-Christian VUCA according to me. The other U in VUCA would stand not for uncertainty but understanding. Develop abilities within employees and within the teams to actually see patterns and unconnected dots and try and help them make sense of these unconnected dots, which can help us build a larger picture for the organization, which has helped us to actually build decision-making capability in the organization. So help the employees, help the people at large to relook at and look at the unconnected dots and make a meaning and sense out of that. So that's the U for you. The other C, which was there, it is basically stand for clarity. Leaders would need to be coached to explain the purpose, the principle, and help build a big picture for employees. So that's building clarity in a so-called unclear world, so to speak. And the last one, which is really the ambiguous in the old VUCA, we try and develop in the new VUCA the agility and adaptability quotient of the organization. So develop agility as a mindset, ensure people are empowered, and build processes and systems within the organization which actually help develop and help thrive empowerment in the process and help faster decision making. Also, we need to shred and kind of cut off the bureaucratic systems which are there in the organization, which will actually hamper the agility and adaptability within the organization. Therefore, relook at all processes from a zero-based standpoint, which are coming in the way of developing agility and adaptability. So, according to me, if as HR heads and HR leaders, we kind of shun away the old VUCA and look at the new VUCA, which I spoke about, I think we will be there on path of recovery and path of development very, very quickly.
That is really fantastic, because every time we've heard about the VUCA world in a different volatile, uncertainty, complex and ambiguity, but you've put it very nicely, Mr. Adir. And I think, yes, it's time to totally reinvent the entire wheel and start looking at the new normal, accept, adapt to whatever situations we are at this point of time, and move on with the situation in a more resilient manner is what I think is at the moment the mantra. So for the
So one
HR at, yeah,
So one
yes,
last mantra which is known to all of us, but I think it is important for us to revisit this again and again, is to
yes,
learn, unlearn, and relearn. Whatever you
perfect.
learned earlier, maybe you have to shred that and relearn and kind of develop on newer things and systems, processes, etc. So learn, unlearn, and relearn is going to be the key factor that is going to keep our organizations and people afloat in these trying times.
True, very true, very true. And like you have added a lot of information about how the HR leaders, the organizations, everybody is going through a sea change. Similarly, I think for the HR fraternity, it's time to be very optimistic, to reach out to your teams, to your family, friends, be empathetic to them, understand the workplace constraints, acknowledge the diversity, stay connected, promote well-being, give hope, and spread positivity. That was fantastic, Mr. Adir. Thank you so much. I'm confident that today's session will be helpful to our audience in getting a lot of insights into how the industry is reshaping. So with this, we would conclude our first ever Prompt Talk series. Should you need more information on the subject, then leave your questions below in the comment section. We will be happy to respond. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Be safe, stay healthy, and be happy. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your invite and thanks again and all the best to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.